I don't know when it was built, maybe the 20s or 30s. I go there sometimes if I need something like a new shirt or whatever, just because it's close to work. In the basement, they have this clearance area or outlet or whatever. I like to go there because everything was cheaper. But one day, I needed new socks, so I went there, but the basement was closed. The escalator was blocked off and you couldn't see down there anymore. I didn't think much of it at the time, except I wondered what they were going to put down there. I bought a couple pairs of socks and I asked the clerk. She said she didn't know, but acted kind of weird about it. And then I went on to work and didn't think about it again. A week or so later, though, I was on my way to the L to go home when I saw people moving some huge boxes into the bottom floor of the store. Now that wouldn't have been that weird, except that it was 1 o'clock in the morning. They were using these hydraulic movers to bring things inside. I would have thought it was just store merchandise, but who moves in store merchandise in the middle of the night? Besides, they weren't bringing it in by the loading dock and back, and I don't know why. It felt like they were in a hurry. They were moving fast. I counted 10 of those big boxes, like the size of a small car, except turned on its side. I tried to stay far enough away so they wouldn't see me watching, and I did feel like they were looking around to see if anybody was watching. Again, not normal if they were just moving merchandise. I knew there was a freight elevator that they could be using to bring those boxes down to the basement, and I had a feeling that that was what they were doing. Now, here's where it starts to get weird. I then think I heard a scream come out of the last box that they moved in. I know that you're thinking, like, how did I know it was coming from the box? But I just knew. It was like something told me. Besides, it didn't sound like anything I'd ever heard before, not like a person or a dog. It sort of sounded otherworldly. It's the only way I can explain it. After that, I made a point to walk by the building on my way to the train. In the afternoon when I came to work, I never noticed anything odd at all. But every night, I seemed to see or hear something different. The next day after the boxes, I heard loud grinding noises coming from that building, like a huge machine with gears kind of a sound. Or maybe like a circular saw, but huge, and screeching like it was cutting metal. How did nobody else notice this? I'm thinking maybe because it was around 1 in the morning. The few people around were either drunk or something, I guess, or maybe they just didn't want to hear it. I didn't hear that noise the night after. It was quiet, and I thought maybe it was just people bringing merchandise into the store after all. So a few days passed, and then every time I went by, I heard nothing. Still wondered what happened to those boxes, though, like what was in them. Sometimes in the afternoon, I'd walk by the back and see people unloading trucks like normal. That stuff came in smaller boxes, and they unloaded it on the loading dock. It was a totally different operation than what I had seen that one night. Every once in a while, I would ask somebody if they knew what was in the basement of the store now. Nobody ever knew. But one day, an employee from the store came in wearing the uniform. She sat at the bar and ordered a double rum and Coke. I was nervous as I made it. I had to ask her. I had to know. As I gave her the drink, I thought she looked tired and stressed maybe. "Hey," I said casually, "I used to shop in the basement of your store. What's down there now?" She jumped a little, like I'd startled her. "What do you mean?" she said. "I mean, what's down there now, in the basement of your store?" I asked again. "Nothing. I don't know what you're talking about," she said. I didn't believe her, not for a second. She knew something. I could tell by her reaction to my question, but it was also obvious that she wasn't going to tell me what it was. That night after my shift, I walked by the store again. There are a few windows in that basement, the kind that are the high-up ones. You know what I mean? Like they're at the street level on the outside, but inside the basement they are high up near the ceiling. Well, every time I passed by them before, they had been dark, but this time, I saw this faint green light coming out of them. My first thought was that it was just like Ghostbusters, only it wasn't funny. It was actually scary because it pulsed, and it glowed like it was alive. And then there was this low scream that just kept going, no breaks or anything. I guess it was more like between a scream and a moan. I felt like whatever was making that noise had just given up. That was the worst part. So now, I think my next step will be the police. but I'm sort of scared about bringing any unwanted attention onto myself. So I'm really starting to think that over.